Welcome, Mr. Denome, and welcome to this crypto update. Now, as you can see, Bitcoin is now trading below our bullish trend line, which means that Bitcoin is now in a bear market from my perspective. Some people, they still say that there might be a bounce because Bitcoin is basically trading right on top of the 50-week exponential moving average, but I think we are headed even lower from here. And the reason is Donald Trump's current government is completely financially, economically illiterate. And they are currently what I would consider financial suicide. So let me explain what is going on in the world right now, and then I will go back to the charts here. So when we go and take a look at this tweet from Donald Trump on Truth Social, we have massive financial deficits with China and the European Union and many others. The only way this problem can be cured is with tariffs. Now he says that deficit spending is a problem that needs to be cured. But this is absolutely false. This is the worst possible financial policy that the United States government can have. And I explained it in this tweet here that I will talk about very soon. I shared this chart here first. But let me show you the outcome. What happens whenever United States government has a surplus? So in this chart, you have the surplus or deficit as percentage of GDP. And on the gray, you will see whenever there's a recession or depression. So we start by 1929, where we had the roaring 20s. And then we had a surplus here in trade. And then what happened was the Great Depression. And then we had another surplus with recession in the late 30s. And then 40s, surplus, recession. Surplus, recession. Surplus, recession. Surplus, recession. Surplus, recession. Surplus, recession. An attempt of surplus followed with recession. Then there's an anomaly, or you could say that we had a surplus here. We tried to have a surplus and then a recession, a surplus, recession, or the dot-com bubble. And in 2007, we attempted to have a surplus and then the Great Recession. And right now, Donald Trump wants to have another surplus. Now, why cannot United States government have a surplus? It is because it is the reserve currency of the planet. And that means that United States government has a privilege which no other country has, which is that they can print US dollars out of thin air. And because it is the reserve currency of the planet, they can simply export dollars outside United States, and in return they can import goods. And when they do that, obviously it's a bad deal for everybody outside the United States, because you are getting paper money in return that was created out of thin air, and you're giving away goods and services to the United States. But that has been the financial system so far. It is the complete opposite what Donald Trump is saying, that everybody else is ripping off United States in global trade. It is the absolute opposite. What the reality is the complete opposite. Now, what would happen if there's a balanced trade or when there's a surplus? Then the dollars which are outside United States, they start to flow back into United States. And as dollars flow into United States, you can only measure wealth through how many goods and services you have access to. When dollars flow to United States, that does not mean that they have access to more goods and services, because the goods and services are mostly outside United States. Now, as the dollars go to United States, what happens outside United States is this. There's going to be a lack of dollars outside the United States, which means that the value of the dollar goes up outside the United States. And the price of goods and services outside the United States go up in dollar terms. And people and companies and countries that have dollar-denominated debt, their debt obligations become bigger and they can become overwhelming. And that means a wave of bankruptcies outside United States because there's a lack of dollars. And that is obviously bad. That is a global recession. But a secondary thing that happens is inside the United States, because suddenly all of these dollars that were outside the United States start flowing into the United States. So you have more money, but you actually have less access to goods and services because of the aggressive tariff policies, which means that everything goes up in price in the United States. So what I guess will happen is a deflationary recession outside the United States, but an inflationary recession inside United States, because there's more dollars inside the United States, less dollars outside the United States. And both of those scenarios are very bad, and everybody basically loses. And there's no winners in this global catastrophe that is now basically looming over us, unless United States changes their trade policy and implement deficit spending policies again. If they engage in deficit spending, the dollars can go outside the United States and the dollar debt obligations can be met, and everybody is good and the global system works again. But right now, Donald Trump is basically throwing sticks into the wheels and cogs of the current financial system, completely wrecking the current system. Now, what is another situation to get out of this is, the first one was Donald Trump engages in deficit spending and fixes it, but as of now, it doesn't seem like he wants to do that. So the second option is for companies and countries simply to not pay back the dollar-denominated debt. And if they do that, that means a wave of bankruptcies, obviously. And the banks will take on the assets. And eventually the assets should go to the United States. But what I guess in this scenario might actually happen is something even worse, which is that the companies and countries outside the United States will not give up their assets to the United States. So they will still simply stop paying back the debt and nothing happens. And from that, there's a chance that we see war, we see chaos. Because the United States obviously thinks like, hey, you had this debt, you have to pay back, so now we're going to attack your country. But the military might of the United States is not as good as it used to be, globally speaking. So I don't think they can enforce this action on other countries. So other countries, as they are looking at dollars, they're thinking like, this makes no sense. We don't like this. Maybe we should start trading in something else. Or they might be forced to trade in something else if there's not enough dollars to go around, which means they might trade in euros, they might trade in yuan or yen or even Russian ruble or whatever, or they could even trade in gold. They could trade in Bitcoin as well. That's a little something that I'm hopeful for, but overall they do not want to trade in dollars because the United States is ripping them off most likely. So they're looking to de-dollarize, at least that would make the most sense from my perspective. Now, let's see, the easiest way out of this is for the Trump administration simply to back off from the current tariff policies and from this crazy idea that deficit spending is bad. But let's actually hear what Donald Trump is saying.
The tariffs. What do you make of that?
The market has spoken when they look at the fact that we have $1 billion trade deficit. When you look at the trade deficit that we have with certain countries, way over $1 billion per country. But with China, it's $1 trillion. And we have to solve our trade deficit with China. We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal. Now,
Did you hear that? He's not going to make a deal until the trade deficit problem has been solved. And what are you actually going to buy from United States? What does United States actually create? Because most of the stuff that you buy on a daily basis is made in China, and then maybe something from Vietnam and some other countries, which are basically sweatshops. If United States government wants back those jobs, who would want to work in those jobs, in basically sweatshops? The prices of goods produced in United States will simply go up in price. And nobody would like to work in sweatshops, and this is made even worse now because the Donald Trump administration has deported the illegal immigrants which were able to produce cheap labor inside the United States. And now they have a minimum wage of like $15 per hour, which is like what some people made in a week outside the United States. So there's no way China would be looking at like, hey, I would like to buy a $200 t-shirt from United States. That makes sense. No, they will simply not ever be able to meet that the exports that come from United States. So there's no chance any country can have a sustainable trade deficit or a balanced trade with the United States. The United States government has to have a trade deficit for it to still remain the global reserve currency of the planet. So right now, Donald Trump is not backing down, and this came out just 4 hours ago. And this whole 15-minute interview here is basically just him explaining how great this tariff idea is. And he has no idea the kind of devastation that he is currently issuing on the planet. And when we take a look at, for example, the price of Japanese stock market, take a look at what's going on here. They basically had to hold trading for the day because of this massive crash here. From the beginning of the year, the Japanese stock market has gone down 25%. This is insane because this is not a shitcoin. This is the real economy. And also, China had a similar situation where it went down 7%. And I guess when the European stock market opens, I think it's going to be down as well. So what I'm getting at is this is just the beginning. I don't think this is the end right now. Trump is holding all of the cards to basically release the economic might of the world by giving it more liquidity. But right now he's planning to dry the world out of liquidity with this crazy tariff policy, which really doesn't benefit anyone. And previously, I thought his tariff policy would be a little bit good, because some forms of tariffs are good if you want to supplement one industry inside your country over something else. But a blanket tariff is absolutely insane, especially when the blanket tariff is based on whimsical numbers that make no sense. So the official calculation for the tariff policies that they issued is this. It looks scientific, but when you actually break it down, this symbol here is a fixed value of 4. And this symbol here is a fixed value of 0.25. Now, if you calculate these things together, 4 times 0.25, they come out to the number 1, which means that we can basically block this part of the equation and the end result is still the exact same thing. And when he says reciprocal tariffs, it's not reciprocal tariffs because this is based on trade balance. It is not based on actual tariffs that those countries issue for the goods coming out of United States. It's simply the trade imbalance between the country and the United States. And Donald Trump wants to punish other countries for having this trade imbalance. So this whole tariff policy is complete financial madness. And I think Bitcoin will first have to go down before we go up, because even though it is a sovereign asset and you can hold it in your own wallet, where it's not in the balance sheet of any other company, it's not in the balance sheet of banks, they cannot confiscate it from you in case they go bankrupt. It's good in that sense, and people want to have Bitcoin. But it is bad because it is so liquid that before these companies around the planet go under, they would rather sell their Bitcoin holdings than to go bankrupt first. So for that reason, I think Bitcoin will have to plunge down before it starts going up, because the world is now scrambling for liquidity, and Bitcoin is the most liquid asset on the planet. So they will get rid of it first. That's what I'm guessing will happen. So now, before I end this video, I want to share with you guys these two things. So first off, when we go back to, let's actually go here, and we take a look at Bitcoin on the long term. When we take a look at the Fibonacci sequence from the 2018 lows to basically the highs of 2021, you can see that first we went down to 0.618 Fibonacci sequence. We had a bounce from there after we fell below our trend line here, and then we had a nice bounce back to the upside here, but from there we went all the way down to 0.786 Fibonacci number. Now, if a similar situation would repeat, and we just take a look at the number, you can see that we have ways to go, even to go to that 0.618 Fibonacci number. That would be $51,000. So now, since we are at a bear market numbers, I have to basically show you guys that these are our price targets. The first price target is roughly $73,000. Next one would be $62,000, and then $51,000. These are our Fibonacci sequence numbers. Now, if this bear market is absolutely crazy and the Trump administration do not change their policies for the next 6 months, who knows, maybe we go all the way to 0.786 to $35,000. That will be basically the worst outcome. So that is still, it sounds bad, but it is only roughly minus 50% from current price point. So that is basically what we might be looking at. And this might get even worse as companies announce their bankruptcies. And when they announce bankruptcies, that usually has a tendency to escalate even further. But all of this could be ended if Donald Trump actually issues financial aid and goes away from this crazy tariff policy. But I don't know. You tell me if Donald Trump has any smarts on him or not. It's just crazy. I don't know what else to say about it. But you can short this market as well to the downside. If you short it, you make money while the price is going down. If you do want to short it, you can use Phemex Exchange because they are a sponsor of this channel, and you get very good rewards if you sign up with Phemex. They have $4,800 in welcome rewards right now. They have competitions where you can earn even more bonus rewards. And one of the best features is they have very low fees. If you make a market buy order with derivatives, the fee is only 0.01%. Now, I would not recommend having all of your money in one exchange because we're now looking at potentially a wave of bankruptcies across the planet. So self-custody is one of the most important things right now. If you want to have a hardware wallet, I have a link down in the description, but a soft wallet is much better as well. As long as you don't have all of your capital in centralized exchanges, you should be pretty good. Now that is it for this update here. Let's hope we will not see a complete financial meltdown, and I hope that Donald Trump changes these policies. If not, we might be looking at war, chaos, anarchy, all of these kind of situations. We could even look at worse financial disaster than was the 2008 financial crisis. So let's see how things continue from here, and I pray that Donald Trump has some sense in his head and fires the idiots who he has been taking advice from so far. Thanks for watching this video. I will see you on the next one, and bye bye.